Tuesday, December the 1st. I called the post office and pretended to be my father. I spoke in a very deep voice and told a lot of lies. I said that I, George Mole, had been in a lunatic asylum for 3 months and I needed the phone to ring up the Samaritans, etc. The woman sounded dead horrible. She said she was fed up with hearing lame excuses from irresponsible non-payers. She said that the phone would only be reconnected when £289.19 had been paid, plus £40 reconnection fee, plus a deposit of £40. £369! When my parents get out of bed and discover the lack of dialing tone, I will be done for. Wednesday, December the 2nd. My father tried to phone up after a job today. He has gone berserk. My mother cleaned my bedroom. She turned up my mattress and found the big and bouncies and the blue phone bill. I sat on the kitchen stool while they interrogated me and shouted abuse. My father wanted to give me a to within an inch of his life thrashing, but my mother stopped him. She said it would be more of a punishment to make the tight-fisted sod cough up some of his building society savings. So that is what I'm being forced to do. Now I will never be an owner-occupier. Thursday, December the 3rd. Drew out £200 from my building society account. I don't mind admitting that there were tears in my eyes. It will take another 14 years before I can replace it. Friday, December the 4th. Moon's first quarter. I am suffering from severe depression. It is all Pandora's father's fault. He should have had a holiday in England. Saturday, December the 5th. Had a letter from Grandma to ask why I hadn't sent her a Christmas card yet. Sunday, December the 6th, second in Advent. I am still being treated like a criminal. My mother and father are not speaking to me, and I'm not allowed out. I might just as well turn to delinquency. Monday, December the 7th. Stole a Kevin Keegan key ring from Mr. Cherry's shop. It will do for Nigel's Christmas present. Tuesday, December the 8th. I am dead worried about the key ring. We did morals and ethics at school today. Wednesday, December the 9th. Can't sleep for worrying about the key ring. The papers are full of stories about old ladies getting done for shoplifting. I tried to overpay Mr. Cherry for my Mars bar, but he called me back and gave me my change. Thursday, December the 10th. Had a dream about a jailer locking me in a prison cell. The big iron key was attached to the Kevin Keegan key ring. The lousy, stinking, sodding phone is reconnected. Friday, December the 11th. Full moon. Phoned the Samaritans and confessed my crime. The man said, "Put it back then, lad. I will do it tomorrow." Saturday, December the 12th. Mr. Cherry caught me in the act of replacing the key ring. He has written a letter to my parents. I might as well do myself in. Sunday, December the 13th. Third in Advent. Thank God there is no post on Sundays. My mother and father had a festive time decorating the Christmas tree. I watched them hanging the baubles with a heavy heart. I am reading Crime and Punishment. It is the most true book I have ever read. Monday, December the 14th. Got up at 5 a.m. to intercept the postman. Took the dog for a walk in the drizzle. It wanted to stay asleep, but I wouldn't let it. The dog moaned and complained all the way round the block, so in the end I let it climb back into its cardboard box. I wish I was a dog. They haven't got any ethics or morals. The postman delivered the letters at 7:30 when I was sitting on the toilet. This is just my luck. My father collected the letters and put them behind the clock. I had a quick look through them while he was coughing on his first cigarette of the day. Sure enough, there was one addressed to my parents in Mr. Cherry's uneducated handwriting. My mother and father slopped over each other for a few minutes, and then opened the letters whilst their Rice Krispies were going soggy. There were 7 lousy Christmas cards, which they put up on a string over the fireplace. My eyes were focused on Mr. Cherry's letter. My mother opened it, read it, and said, "George, that old git Cherry sent his bloody paper bill in." Then they ate their Rice Krispies, and that was that. I wasted a lot of adrenaline worrying. I won't have enough left if I'm not careful. Tuesday, December the 15th. My mother has told me why she left Creep Lucas and returned to my father. She said, "Bimbo treated me like a sex object, Adrian, and he expected his evening meal cooked for him, and he cut his toenails in the living room. And besides, I'm very fond of your father." She didn't mention me. Wednesday, December the 16th. I'm in an experimental nativity play at school. It is called Manger to Star. I am playing Joseph. Pandora is playing Mary. Jesus is played by the smallest first year. He's called Peter Brown. He's on drugs to make him taller. Thursday, December the 17th. Another letter from the BBC. Dear Adrian Mole, thank you for submitting your latest poem. I understood it perfectly well once it had been typed. However, Adrian, understanding is not all. Our poetry department is inundated with autumnal poems. The smell of bonfires and the crackling of leaves pervade the very corridors. Good try, but try again, eh? Yours with best wishes, John Tidyman. Try again. He is almost giving me a commission. I have written back to him. Dear Mr. Tidyman, how much will I get if you broadcast one of my poems on the radio? When do you want me to send it? What do you want it to be about? Can I read it out myself? Will you pay my train fare in advance? What time will it go out on the airways? I have to be in bed by 10. Yours faithfully, A. Mole. P.S. I hope you have a dead good Christmas. Friday, December the 18th. Moon's last quarter. Today's rehearsal of Manger to Star was a fiasco. Peter Brown has grown too big for the crib, so Mr. Animba, the woodwork teacher, has got to make another one. Mr. Scruton sat at the back of the gym and watched rehearsals. He had a face like the north face of the Eiger by the time we got to the bit where the three wise men were reviled as capitalist pigs. He took Miss Elf into the showers and had a quiet word. We all heard every word he shouted. He said he wanted to see a traditional nativity play with a Tiny Tears doll playing Jesus and three wise men dressed in dressing gowns and tea towels. He threatened to cancel the play if Mary, alias Pandora, continued to go into simulated labour in the manger. This is typical of Scruton. He is nothing but a small-minded, provincial, sexually inhibited fascist pig. How he rose to become a headmaster, I do not know. He has been wearing the same hairy green suit for 3 years. How can we change it all now? The play is being performed on Tuesday afternoon. My mother has had a Christmas card from Creep Lucas. Inside he had written, Paulie, have you got the dry cleaning ticket for my best white suit? Sketchleys are being very difficult. My mother was very upset. My father rang Sheffield and ordered Lucas to cease communications or risk getting a bit of Sheffield steel in between his porky shoulder blades. My father looked dead good on the telephone. He had a cigarette stuck between his lips. My mother was leaning on the corner of the fridge. She had a cigarette in her hand. They looked a bit like the Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall postcard on my wall. I wish I was a real gangster's son. At least you would see a bit of life. Saturday, December the 19th. I've got no money for Christmas presents, but I've made my Christmas list in case I find £10 in the street. Pandora. Big bottle of Chanel No. 5, £1.50. Mother, egg timer, 75p. Father, bookmark, 38p. Grandma, packet of J-cloths, 45p. Dog, dog chocolates, 45p. Bert, 20 woodbines, 95p. Auntie Susan, tin of Nivea, 60p. Sabre, box of Bob Martins, small, 39p. Nigel, family box of Maltesers, 34p. Miss Elf, oven glove, homemade. Sunday, December the 20th, 4th in Advent. Pandora and I had a private Mary and Joseph rehearsal in my bedroom. We improvised a great scene where Mary gets back from the family planning clinic and tells Joseph she's pregnant. I played Joseph like Marlon Brando in A Streetcar Named Desire. Pandora played Mary a bit like Blanche Dubois. It was dead good until my father complained about the shouting. The dog was supposed to be the lowly cattle, but it wouldn't keep still long enough to make a tableau. After tea, my mother casually mentioned that she was going to wear her fox fur coat to the school concert tomorrow. Shock horror! I immediately went round to Pandora's house to get the mangy coat, only to find that Pandora's mother has borrowed it to go to the marriage guidance Christmas dinner and dance. Pandora said that she hadn't realised that the coat was only on loan. She thought it was a lover's gift. How can a 14-3/4-year-old schoolboy afford to give a fox fur coat as a gift? Who does Pandora think I am? A millionaire like Freddie Laker? Pandora's mother won't be back until the early hours, so I will have to go round before school and sneak the coat into its plastic cover. It's going to be difficult, but then nothing in my life is simple or straightforward anymore. I feel like a character in a Russian novel half the time. Monday, December the 21st. Woke up with a panic attack to see that it was 8:50 by my bedside digital. My black walls looked unusually light and sparkly. One glance outside confirmed my suspicions that indeed the snow lay outside like a white carpet. I stumbled through the snow to Pandora's house in my father's fishing boots, but found that the house was devoid of humans. I looked through the letterbox and saw my mother's fur coat being mauled about by Pandora's ginger cat. I shouted swear words at it, but the lousy, stinking cat just looked sarcastic and carried on dragging the coat around the hall. I had no choice but to shoulder charge the laundry room door and rush into the hall and rescue my mother's coat. I left quickly as anyone can wearing thigh-length fishing boots 4 sizes too big. I put the fur coat on to keep me warm on my hazardous journey home. I nearly lost my bearings at the corner of Ploughman's Avenue and Shepherd's Crook Drive, but I fought my way through the blizzard until I saw the familiar sight of the prefabricated garages on the corner of our cul-de-sac. I fell into our kitchen in a state of hypothermia and severe exhaustion. My mother was smoking a cigarette and making mince pies. She screamed, "What the bloody hell are you doing wearing my fox fur coat?" She was not kind or concerned or anything that mothers are supposed to be. She fussed about wiping snow off the coat and drying the fur with a hairdryer. She didn't even offer to make me a hot drink or anything. She said, "It's been on the radio that the school is closed because of the snow, so you can make yourself useful and check the camp beds for rust. The Sugdens are staying over Christmas." The Sugdens, my mother's relations from Norfolk. Yuck, yuck. They're all inbred and can't speak properly. Phoned Pandora to explain about the fox fur and the damage, etc., but she had gone skiing on the slope behind the Co-op bakery. Pandora's father asked me to get off the line. He had to make an urgent phone call to the police station. He said he had just come home and discovered a break-in. He said the place was a shambles. The cat must have done it. I was very careful. But fortunately, the only thing that was missing was an old fox fur coat that Pandora had lined the cat's basket with. "Sorry, Pandora, but this is the final straw that broke the donkey's back. You can find yourself another Joseph. I refuse to share the stage with a girl who puts her cat's comfort before her boyfriend's dilemma." Tuesday, December the 22nd. School was closed this morning because the teachers couldn't manage to get in on time because of the snow. That will teach them to live in old mill houses and windmills out in the country. Miss Elf lives with a West Indian in a terraced house in the town, so she bravely turned out to prepare for the school concert in the afternoon. I decided to forgive Pandora for the fox fur in the cat's basket incident after she had pointed out that the cat was an expectant mother. The school concert was not a success. The bell ringing from Class 1G went on too long. My father said, "The bells, the bells," and my mother laughed too loudly and made Mr. Scruton look at her. The school orchestra was a disaster. My mother said, "When are they going to stop tuning up and start playing?" I told her that they had just played a Mozart horn concerto. That made my mother and father and Pandora's mother and father start laughing in a very unmannerly fashion. When 10-stone Alice Bernard from 3C came on stage in a tutu and did the Dying Swan, I thought my mother would explode. Alice Bernard's mother led the applause, but not many people followed. The Dumbo class got up and sang a few boring old carols. Barry Kent sang all the vulgar versions. I know, because I was watching his lips. Then they sat down cross-legged, and Brainbox Henderson from 5K played a trumpet, Jew's harp, piano and guitar. The smarmy git looked dead superior when he was bowing during his applause. Then it was the interval, and time for me to change into my white T-shirt and Wrangler's Joseph costume. The tension backstage was electric. I stood in the wings, a theatrical term, it means the side of the stage, and watched the audience filing back into their places. Then the music from Close Encounters boomed out over the stereo speakers, and the curtains opened on an abstract manger, and I just had time to whisper to Pandora, "Break a leg, darling," before Miss Elf pushed us out into the lights. My performance was brilliant. I really got under the skin of Joseph. But Pandora was less good. She forgot to look tenderly at Jesus, stroke Peter Brown. The three punks, stroke wise men, made too much noise with their chains and spoiled my speech about the Middle East situation, and the angels representing Mrs. Thatcher got hissed by the audience so loudly that their spoken chorus about unemployment was wasted. Still, all in all, it was well received by the audience. Mr. Scruton got up and made a hypocritical speech about a brave experiment and Miss Elf's tireless work behind the scenes, and then we all sang "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." Driving home in the car, my father said, "That was the funniest nativity play I have ever seen. Whose idea was it to turn it into a comedy?" I didn't reply. It wasn't a comedy. Wednesday, December the 23rd, 9 a.m. Only 2 shopping days left for Christmas, and I am still penniless. I have made a blue Peter oven glove for Miss Elf, but in order to give it to her in time for Christmas, I will have to go into the ghetto and risk getting mugged. I will have to go out carol singing. There is nothing else I can do to raise finance. 10 p.m. Just got back from carol singing. The suburban houses were a dead loss. People shouted, "Come back at Christmas," without even opening the door. My most appreciative audience were the drunks staggering in and out of the Black Bull. Some of them wept openly at the beauty of my solo rendition of Silent Night. I must say that I presented a touching picture as I stood in the snow with my young face lifted to the heavens, ignoring the scenes of drunken revelry around me. I made £3.13½, plus an Irish 10p and Guinness bottle top. I'm going out again tomorrow. I will wear my school uniform. It should be worth a few extra quid. Thursday, December the 24th. Took Bert's Woodbines round to the home. Bert is hurt because I haven't been to see him. He said he didn't want to spend Christmas with a lot of malicious old women. Him and Queenie are causing a scandal. They are unofficially engaged. They have got their names on the same ashtray. I have invited Bert and Queenie for Christmas Day. My mother doesn't know yet, but I'm sure she won't mind. We have got a big turkey. I sang a few carols for the old ladies. I made £2.11 out of them, so I went to Woolworths to buy Pandora's Chanel No. 5. They hadn't got any, so I bought her an underarm deodorant instead. The house looks dead clean and sparkling. There is a magic smell of cooking and satsumas in the air. I've searched around for my presents, but they're not in the usual places. I want a racing bike. Nothing else will please me. It's time I was independently mobile. 11 p.m. Just got back from the Black Bull. Pandora came with me. We wore our school uniforms and reminded all the drunks of their own children. They coughed up conscience money to the tune of £12.57. So we're going to see a pantomime on Boxing Day, and we will have a family bar of Cadbury's Dairy Milk each. Friday, December the 25th. Christmas Day. Got up at 5 a.m. to have a ride on my racing bike. My father paid for it with American Express. I couldn't ride it far because of the snow, but it didn't matter. I just liked looking at it. My father had written on the gift tag attached to the handlebars, "Don't leave it out in the rain this time," as if I would. My parents had severe hangovers, so I took them breakfast in bed and gave them my presents at the same time. My mother was overjoyed with her egg timer, and my father was equally delighted with his bookmark. In fact, everything was going okay, until I casually mentioned that Bert and Queenie were my guests for the day, And would my father mind getting out of bed and picking them up in his car? The row went on until the lousy Sugdens arrived. My grandma and Grandad Sugden, and Uncle Dennis and his wife Marcia and their son Morris all looked the same, as if they went to funerals every day of their lives. I can hardly believe that my mother is related to them. The Sugdens refused a drink and had a cup of tea whilst my mother defrosted the turkey in the bath. I helped my father carry Queenie, 15 stone, and Bert, 14 stone, out of our car. Queenie is one of those loud types of old ladies who dye their hair and try to look young. Bert is in love with her. He told me when I was helping him into the toilet. Grandma Mole and Auntie Susan came at 12:30 and pretended to like the Sugdens. Auntie Susan told some amusing stories about life in prison, but nobody but me and my father and Bert and Queenie laughed. I went up to the bathroom and found my mother crying and running the turkey under the hot tap. She said, "The bloody thing won't thaw out, Adrian. What am I going to do?" I said, "Just bung it in the oven." So she did. We sat down to eat Christmas dinner 4 hours late. By then, my father was too drunk to eat anything. The Sugdens enjoyed the Queen's speech, but nothing else seemed to please them. Grandma Sugden gave me a book called Bible Stories for Boys. I could hardly tell her that I had lost my faith, so I said thank you and wore a false smile for so long that it hurt. The Sugdens went to their camp beds at 10 o'clock. Bert, Queenie, and my mother and father played cards, while I polished my bike. We all had a good time making jokes about the Sugdens. Then my father drove Bert and Queenie back to the home, and I phoned Pandora up and told her that I loved her more than life itself. I am going round to her house tomorrow to give her the deodorant and escort her to the pantomime. Saturday, December the 26th. Bank holiday in UK and Republic of Ireland. A day may be given in lieu. New moon. The Sugdens got up at 7 a.m. and sat around in their best clothes looking respectable. I went out on my bike. When I got back, my mother was still in bed, and my father was arguing with Grandad Sugden about our dog's behaviour, so I went for another ride. I called in on Grandma Mole, ate 4 mince pies, then rode back home. I got up to 30 miles per hour on the dual carriageway. It was dead good. I put my new suede jacket and corduroy trousers on, courtesy of my father's Barclay card, and called for Pandora. She gave me a bottle of aftershave for my Christmas present. It was a proud moment. It signified the end of childhood. We quite enjoyed the pantomime, but it was rather childish for our taste. Bill Ash and Carol Heyman were good as Aladdin and the Princess, but the robbers played by Jeff Tierney and Giles were the best. Sue Pomeroy gave a hilarious performance as Widow Twankey. In this she was greatly helped by her cow, played by Chris Martin and Lou Wakefield. Sunday, December the 27th. First after Christmas. The Sugdens have gone back to Norfolk, thank God. The house is back to its usual mess. My parents took a bottle of vodka and 2 glasses to bed with them last night. I haven't seen them since. Went to Melton Mowbray on my bike. Did it in 5 hours. Monday, December the 28th. I am in trouble for leaving my bike outside last night. My parents are not speaking to me. I don't care. I have just had a shave, and I feel magic. Tuesday, December the 29th. My father is in a bad mood because there is only a bottle of VP sherry left to drink. He has gone round Pandora's house to borrow a bottle of spirits. The dog has pulled the Christmas tree down and made all the pine needles stick in the shag pile. I have finished all my Christmas books, and the library is still shut. I am reduced to reading my father's Reader's Digests and testing my word power. Wednesday, December the 30th. All the balloons have shriveled up. They look like old women's breasts shown on television documentaries about the Third World. Thursday, December the 31st. The last day of the year. A lot has happened. I have fallen in love, been a one-parent child, gone intellectual, and had 2 letters from the BBC. Not bad going for a 14 3/4-year-old. My mother and father have been to a New Year's Eve dance at the Grand Hotel. My mother actually wore a dress. It is over a year since she showed her legs in public. Pandora and I saw the new year in together. We had a dead passionate session, accompanied by Andy Stewart and a bagpiper. My father came crashing through the front door at 1 a.m., carrying a lump of coal in his hand, drunk as usual. My mother started going on about what a wonderful son I was, and how much she loved me. It's a pity she never says anything like that when she's sober.